I am multi-topic talk. Welcome to this new video. 1 month too late. I know I need to be faster when recording. We will talk about three movies I've seen in theaters when they came out in September. Never Let Go. We will talk about Speak No Evil, the a bad remake, and we will talk about The Front Room. And we will also have some guests to talk about some of these movies. Hi, Gray. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing so good. Couldn't do any better. It is amazing. The sun's shining. It's a great day.
Amazing. So today we are talking about The Front Room. So before you really review it, share us the experience of the adventures of finding that movie.
Well, you told me to see this that you really enjoyed it, and it was one of your favorites of the year, I believe. You gave
Yeah.
it really glowing praise, so I was like, okay, I should search out this movie, and I remembered The Front Room, so I put that into my little search engine, and it came up with a 2024 flick that was, and you told me it was kind of horror suspense. That's what this came up with, was this 2024 horror suspense, but it the name was slightly different. It's not the and then front room as three words. It was just two words, The Front Rooms. I was like, clearly it's a 2024 horror suspense one. There's no way that this is not the one that he's talking about. And my God, that was the worst film I've seen this year. I feel bad calling it horrible. It's like a micro or like no budget film, but it's basically just one guy monologuing the entire time, and he doesn't have the best acting ability. Um, there are definitely Hollywood ones that I think were worse, that were more of a waste of time, but this was the most frustrating experience because I was like, why the hell did Multi recommend this to me? Like, what am I supposed to see in this? Like, is there going to be like some big twist in the end? Like, what is going on? And let me tell you, nothing came. So I remember immediately slacking or the discording you and being like, "What the hell is going on with it? Why did you recommend this movie to me?" And you're like, "I don't know. I thought it was good." And then it took me like a little while later to like actually Google it, and then I found out, hey, there's two different movies. There's The Front Room and The Front Rooms, both horror suspenses in 2024. So my bad, but yeah, I did a little bit of watching independent cinema first, and then yeah, I watched this movie. While I didn't like it as much as you did, I liked it immensely more than The Front Rooms. So if you could only watch one front room related movie from 2024, go with the Brandy one.
Well said. And I was surprised. I was like, man, am I that off? Because when I told you that was one of my favorite at that time, I had seen like 30-ish movies, maybe 35, 36, and that one was like it was almost in the top 10. It was like 12, 13 or so. Now it's still like 14 or 15. It's still kind of still very high, but um I was like, am I that up? I really don't have things at all. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it was like the middle of the night that I sent you kind of an angry message too, and then you sent me like messages back, and we realized like, wait a minute, there was more than one actor in the movie that you're talking about. Okay, it's not the same one. Um, yeah, so I apologize for being a little confrontational on the why the hell did you make me watch this thing, but yeah, this one significantly better performances and camera work. In fact, budget. This entire just the redecorating of the house was probably like three times the budget of the other one that I watched. So yeah, it's a much more pleasant watch, even though there's some very unpleasant things in this movie.
well, share these with us. You sound like you had a very different experience. That's what matters. What did you think of the good front room, not the other one?
So the front room starring Brandy. Yeah, so Brandy Norwood, I haven't seen her in a while. It was awesome to see her come back. I think she's an awesome actress. So yeah, when I saw that she was in this, I was kind of excited. But yeah, maybe it's just because of the timing of this. So Apartment 7A just came out, which is like the prequel to Rosemary's Baby, which is kind of a similar thing in a way that there's a pregnant woman who may be pregnant with the devil's baby, and it kind of goes on from there. And there's like hauntings during this time where is the person possibly being hysterical due to the pregnancy, or are these events actually happening? Um, so I rewatched Rosemary's Baby in order to watch Apartment 7A, and I happened to do that the same weekend that The Front Room entered my actual viewing time, when it's like, oh, that's the movie that Multi's talking about. So maybe I'm kind of combining them all in a little bit, which might be unfair to The Front Room. It just feels like it borrows kind of heavily, and it's themed very similarly to kind of a Rosemary's Baby type of movie. Um, there is this big push for kind of religion in there that perhaps religion is the evil part. I do kind of dig the turn that it's taking by the end, but yeah, I just feel like a lot of the themes in this and the portrayals really feel like it's kind of doing something I've seen before many different times, like with the whole, again, the pregnant lady, the whole religious cult thing. Are they doing these weird mysterious things? That being said, I really like a few of the performances. I believe it's no, I'm not sure. I think it's Andrew Burnap is the husband. He's pretty forgettable. He's supposed to be a meek character. I can't think of anything like super amazing that's happening with his character. But Brandy, not only do I believe that a woman her age would be pregnant, hell yeah, like that's a good performance there. And then now I'm forgetting her name, Catherine Hunter, who plays Solange. Man, I love her almost entire performance in this. It is really haunting, and she does kind of take on this very intimidating character, if you will, which is weird because she's very meek in stature, and she's got a couple of canes, but man, she really does kind of take this performance to another level. I really do enjoy her performance as Solange, but man, the story, I guess I wanted a little bit more out of it. I don't think it's bad by any means. I do like a lot of what they're bringing in here, but man, just this husband being so weak, I don't buy it. I don't think that Brandy would be, or Belinda would be, looking for a husband that is so meek that, despite the fact that she's having issues with his stepmother, they're just going to completely redecorate the entire house while she's gone delivering a baby, because she wouldn't mind that at all. I can't see how he would be like, yes, this will work. This will make it so that I'm not necessarily like fighting with my stepmom, and this totally won't cause a fight with my wife the second she gets back from the hospital. There's just little things like that where I don't think the husband would be going with it as hard as he is, but there's still things that definitely kind of stick with me, and it did leave me kind of questioning things by the end. I think everything kind of gets changed in my mind once we kind of get the ending. It does kind of make me want to see it one more time, even though I feel like I've spent enough time watching Front Rooms this year. But it does kind of make you recontextualize everything. Like, was Belinda less was she more
Evil.
involved in each of these incidents than it really showed us before, when we kind of get this recontextualization after the end, and the end also kind of, it I guess you could say that they're homaging a bunch of different flicks. They also have the whole pillow thing, which is very similar to a whole bunch of other flicks, which, I think the first time we see that is I believe was when we saw that happen to Jack Nicholson, but yeah, perhaps it goes back even further than that. But it just almost every part of it, every element feels like I've seen it in another movie. It's not done poorly, but I don't know. It just kind of it leaves me feeling like, yeah, I kind of feel like I've seen that before. I kind of like this combination of it, but I don't know. Even then, like, just I don't know. It doesn't leave a great taste in my mouth. I don't think it's because of my front rooms experience. I really don't dislike a whole bunch of this. The religious thing doesn't necessarily turn me off. I just feel like I've seen that done to death. And then same thing with like a pastor who, is again kind of unwilling to actually stand up to something that seems rather absurd to be doing with his congregation. And then again, just the husband who's not willing to say, like, oh, yeah, in exchange for completely redecorating the house while you were out giving birth, I also agreed to have this entire church prayer group going just the time that, you're going home. And I'm not going to tell you about that. I'm going to let you walk into it and let all these old people lay hands on you. I don't know. It just, I feel like it could have been done a little bit stronger, but I do like what's there. I guess I was hoping for more, is all.
Okay. Do you want to add something else?
Um, I think a lot of the effects in this were pretty decent. They did go for a lot of practical effects. Like again, almost all of the makeup work on Solange is just like amazing. But they also had a couple of interesting, I don't know, vision scenes, if you will. They're a bit haunting. I got kind of the Substance vibes from a couple of them, which was interesting. We got some weird body horror in there, so I do like how they were able to put a taste of that into this one. Uh, that being said, again, I think almost everything that I feel like it's borrowing from, it didn't do it as good for me. But I'm glad that you had a much different experience with it. It's definitely not on the lower half of my list this year or anything like that. It just, I don't know. I was hoping for better.
Um, what did you think of the pacing of the movie?
I thought once it got going, it was pretty good. In the start, it was a little slow, like we're with her teaching class and everything, and then we learn a little bit about what's happening with their lives. I felt like it took a minute to get to like the funeral and then to get the kind of push for the actual plot of the movie where now you have her living in your house. But I think once that happened, it started moving at a pretty good pace. I got no issues with the pacing. I was
Okay.
never looking at my watch or anything like that.
Okay. My only issue, if I remember correctly, was the pacing by the end because I felt like there was a lot of rinse and repeat during the movie. I get why they were doing it, but I feel like at some point they did overstate a bit their welcome. But I still enjoyed the experience a lot. Otherwise, I wouldn't have recommended that I lead that movie. Um,
It's
so
such a strange film. I'm glad you did recommend it. I don't know if I would have watched it on my own, but man, it's definitely got some things that are going to stick with me. Uh, and it actually challenged me a bit. By the time it was done, it kind of made me wonder. Was Solange that bad all along? Did these events play out exactly like we saw them, or are there extra frames or whatever that we didn't actually see? It does make me want to see it again, but yeah, it's gonna be a minute before I do that. But
yeah,
man, a lot of the way that Solange kind of goes about her perceived I don't know what you would call that, torment. Just wow, it's pretty intense. I didn't
that's
think that
true.
I would see Brandy, having to clean an entire house of shit before.
Fact. So what would be your grade out of 10?
Yeah, I'm wondering on this. I think I'd go like either a 7 or a 7.5. It is definitely not bad. To me, it's good. It is on the upper half of what I saw this year. But yeah, I guess I just felt like a bit of it I've seen before. So yeah, I think I'd give it like a solid 7.5.
That's interesting. Thank you a lot for sharing. Do you want to add a last thing before we close off that segment?
It is a interesting, weird film. It's worth seeing.
The first movie we talk about is The Front Room. Now, fun backstory. After watching this movie, I came to Gray and I told him, Gray, you must see this movie. He had no picture whatsoever, so he ended up watching another Front Room made this year, and the other one was terrible based on what I heard. Now, the good Front Room, the one with that girl there, well, I enjoyed it a lot. I had a blast watching it, and I highly recommend. I only had one issue with this movie, and the only issue was pacing. The runtime was an hour and 30-minute ish. I feel like some of the scene could have been trimmed down or completely cut. The runtime could have been 1 hour 15 minute, 1 hour 20. Um, so yeah, that was my only nitpick. Now, the few things I did like the music, the characters were enjoyable, the actors were solid. The last plot twist at the very end with the wife ending the stepmother life was well made. Characters were well made and grounded. The character arc of the mother character from being a reluctant person to accept the death. Rewind. The character arc of the mother character from being a reluctant person to accept the stepmother was cool since by the end she broke apart and took the matter in her own hands. It never felt that earned and great to witness someone's death on screen. Very well depicted, manipulative stepmother. Yes, there was no spoiler warning. Very sorry about that. Amazing movie. Overall, I give this thing a 9.7 out of 10. Now, let's go to the next movie. And here's your spoiler warning. Speak no evil. I heard that the original was better. Now, I felt very weird. I walked out of that theater room wondering if I liked or hated this thing. One sure thing, it's not the best or the worst movie this year. There are great moments like two men screaming because they got emotions and they need to release it without adding a swing at someone. That felt great. Now, the true issue is how everything happens in the movie. Characters are made stupid for the movie to even work. I hated this shit. There's one sure thing I did enjoy the action. That was great. The acting was solid. So now let's just get into the notes I got for this movie because I got a lot of things to say. The first issue with this movie is something that will repeat itself but in different ways. Issue number one. Not believable that both leads would go on a weekend at a stranger's house with their kid. They met people a few days prior and they've known each other for like a week. It doesn't add up. It's happening because the script said so. Even if they trust too much, it's not, and it doesn't make any sense. Maybe that was the message of the movie, but still, it's ham-fisted since you expect way too much the viewer to suspend disbelief to believe this shit. Number two, not believable that the parents would simply accept another stranger to take care of their daughter. The movie try hard to explain that the stranger is a teacher, therefore is trustworthy. It's just obnoxious and not believable. Number three. So the family wants to leave after realizing that the villain brought their daughter in their beds. Awkward, right? They leave, but yet they come back for the toy. Big brain. Maybe the loss of the toy was staged, since it's an issue at the end as well. However, it doesn't make any sense that they go back. Number four, each time the couple addresses leaving, it feels off that they not leave. I get it, the father doesn't trust the mother, but still they argued way too much about leaving or not, affecting the pacing of the movie and making the character sound stupid. Number five, the couple accepting the delays. Uh, Rewind. The couple accepting the delay of their departure for the daughter to find out about the off people felt force. Why accepting coffee from odd and dangerous people? The script said so. Number six, the couple wanted to leave in a hurry, yet they come back to save the kids. Yes, they try to explain it by saying the father doesn't love his kids since he endangered the family instead of simply leaving, but that's not enough. It happened only to add 20 minutes to the movie. Really, I hated the shit, I swear. That was terrible. That was all of these six issues that came to me and that told me, you know what? You know what? I think I ate this movie. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad because that's the kind of stuff I could have liked. Really. The actors were great. Now that my issues are out of the way, let's go to the review. Start of review. That's my notes. The two leads of the movie trusting strangers felt very odd, and the only way to believe the story and the script is to suspend disbelief at almost every turn and twist. If you like it when characters do stuff because the script says so, despite not making sense, this shall be your movie. So I just repeat what I just said. Now, here are a few things I didn't note. Character traits. Leads are liar. They lie all the time, and they are genuinely good people. The villains are honest, and they delete people, which is ironic and funny. Stockholm Syndrome was well depicted through the kid and the wife of the villain. The action and tension were great. The music was enjoyable. The movie has some of the best humor I've seen this year. The performance of the characters were entertaining. The twist and seeds for the plot twists were both great. The movie being about a breakup was entertaining. They found a way to make the final action piece believable despite having the bad guys carry guns when the leads don't have any firearm. It was the best part of the movie. Well, made and executed. They improvised weapon were great. Both that screamings was great. I already said it. Team, people are all liars to look good. It's a movie about breakup between the father and the mother. I have a very mixed feeling. I don't know if I like or hate this movie. I'd say the movie is mediocre since it does require way too much for the viewer to suspend disbelief to even follow what's going on. Again, it makes me sad because I feel there's something I like in this. It's not like it ends with us. It's not Borderland. It's not Madame Web. I bring all of the worst. But it's not like the better movie like Megalopolis. But that's funny. I mentioned Megalopolis, but I feel like I would rewatch this mediocre movie over the Francis Coppola thing just because I understand Speak No Evil and not Megalopolis, but that's beside the point. Speak No Evil, I heard The older version, the original, was better. I'm not surprised. I will eventually watch the original and maybe do a video to compare both. We'll see how it goes. This movie is, for me, a 6.5 out of 10. For me, a 7, it's average. So that movie is just underneath average. It's like between mediocre and decent. Do I recommend it? Hell no. Don't watch that.
Remake. What did you think of that one?
Well, I have really mixed feelings on it. Like it is pretty, and I like the actors that they brought into it, but I just I feel like they gave it the Spurlos treatment, the same thing that they did to The Vanishing, where you remake it with Hollywood actors and then you give it the Hollywood ending. Um, to me, it seems to really take all the teeth out of Speak No Evil, if you will. I don't know. It hits a lot of the same points, but I think it completely misses the message and it completely kind of confuses what they did so poignantly and so perfectly in the original, which is I don't know, 70% in English anyway. I don't know why we necessarily needed a remake except for would we be talking about Speak No Evil? I didn't know about the Danish film from 2022. I only heard about it because, hey, they're remaking this thing that was just released 2 years ago. I'm glad I did hear about it. I think it's an amazing film. I absolutely love the Speak No Evil. I love how dark it gets, how deep that 2022 version gets. But man, this 2024 one, they just they changed the characters so much that I think they're missing a lot of the message, a lot of what made the 2022 one so special, which is kind of a letdown to me. But it's interesting because instead this one, so James Watkin directs this one and was the writer of it. But man, James McAvoy does a really fun interpretation of this character, but it is completely different. His version of Patty is so much different than Patrick. Patrick, I love the character of Patrick in the original Speak No Evil. Just man, it is such a dark character who's just pushing so much to get away with anything because they know just how polite Bjorn is. It just man, there's so many levels to this. They keep the same line. Why did you do this? Because you let me. But it doesn't have the same effect. Like in the original one, you see that they don't really want to go on vacation, but they feel like they're obligated. Out of politeness, they can't turn down this offer of this strange couple that they meet. But when they meet this couple, Patrick builds up Bjorn. He calls him a hero for just going back and getting the bunny. That's not what happens when McAvoy meets Scoot, who is the he plays Ben Dalton, the husband in this one. Hey, it's Charles.
In the flesh.
We are speaking no evil currently. So yeah, just I think the difference between McAvoy's kind of introduction to Scoot McNairy, it's completely different than the original one to me. McAvoy isn't building him up. He isn't giving him what he needs, where that's exactly what's going on from Patrick. Patrick is playing Bjorn from the beginning. And I think this entire dynamic is completely different. And then you just see how volatile James McAvoy is. Like, yes, he is beefy and, that's great and all. But man, he's just so much more violent and animalistic. I don't see them going along with him in this. It just doesn't come off as believable. Where in the 2022 version, I get why that mixed with, like social conventions and just being polite, why they would go along with a ton of this. But yeah, again, it feels like they kind of took the teeth out of it for me. I wanted more out of the 2024 one. I just feel like they sanitized it a bit, where The first one is just so dark. I've heard it kind of compared to some other very dark ones out there, and I just can't see anyone comparing the 2024 one to it. It just feels like they kind of bought the name and the concept and then did a much watered down Hollywood version of it to me. It feels like The Vanishing to me, and it's really sad because the first one was amazing. Same thing with Spurlos, but I guess the one good thing for me is it's bringing attention to the 2022 one. I never would have watched it had they not done the remake.
You know what? It convinced me. I need to see it now. It's on my watch list.
You haven't watched the original?
Oh,
I didn't.
This pales in comparison, man.
This one, that was the first time I walked out of a movie and I was like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. It's just like, what should I think of it?
You'll probably feel something if you watch the original.
You're gonna feel depressed after the original. Like, it's great. I've seen it compared numerous times to a Serbian film. It's dark, man. They go places. The kid is not the winner in the end.
Wow. Okay. I want to see that one even more now. Okay.
You should. Hey, Charles, you have any feelings on Speak No Evil?
I do. I even though I only caught half of what you said, I probably echo everything and then some. It seems as if anytime a movie somewhere else in the world gets decent buzz, we remake it and make it American and really Americanize it and take, like you said, right? We take the teeth out of the movie. And like, I don't know if just, numbing a movie down for an American audience for you to just kind of make a ho-hum movie, like, is that success? Because there's been a couple. The only time I could think of in the last 15, 20 years or so, the only time I could think of an American film that actually either met or exceeded and did something different and felt better is The Ring. And I don't think The Ring is better than Ringu, but it's different and sort of matched for the different societies. But watching something like Goodnight Mommy, different, but all the teeth are not there. It's similar, but it doesn't really matter. This, really extremist movies like what is your name? I drew a blank. That's awful. I watched it, covered it. French movie. Just, it's gone. It's just that's how. I know. Yeah, I don't. What the? I'm. Thank God you're recording this so I can go and look because.
Okay.
The French film I'm thinking of is Martyrs, and that's another movie that is a bit extreme with the subject matter and how it ends. But the American version feels more like just an American horror movie, and it takes a lot of the cultural impact away from that movie. Like, yeah, we're not trying to make a bunch of, don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. Like, we're trying to, you're emulating something, you're copying something, you're rebooting whatever. You're covering something that has significance for a reason, and then you're like Americanizing it and taking everything that makes it noteworthy away from it. And that's definitely the case for Speak No Evil. It's very similar for the first half. And then there's this just fork in the road, and the American version gets really safe. And the thing, it's ironic because if Americans can relate to anything, it's this phony sense of friendliness, this phony sense of nice, being polite to someone just because, it just, I don't know. We are the biggest frauds in the world, is from my experience. Americans will say one thing and do another, whereas in Denmark, it's the opposite. They won't tell you things you want to hear. but they're really stand-up people. And for a movie like this, the original, the Danish version, is something that you can just kind of take and do something. I've said this before. I think you could really lean hard into it and have it be like a Republican family and a Democrat family, and just run amok. It's like that would really capitalize on making it American, but they just totally neuter everything about the movie. And I don't know, like if you feel better about this movie, cool, but you probably wouldn't have liked the original to begin with. So what purpose does this movie do? Like, if you want to feel just kind of crummy about a movie, but not totally shitty, okay, this exists. But it's more about challenging you than just saying, "Huh, I'll never watch that again." And that's basically it. It's another in a long string of American remakes of movies that really have something to say while not really, being truly tremendously successful. It's just they're just yawn. Just can't be original. So here's something that worked somewhere else, but we're not going to do it the way it worked. We're going to kind of Americanize it, and it'll be forgettable in a week.
And
that's
what happened. That's what happened. We forgot about it a week later.
I mean, McAvoy was pretty beefy in it, though.
He was very good. McAvoy was rather. I mean, like, it's not like this movie's a waste, but there's an element with McAvoy's character that I feel like it's this little moment in the movie, both of them, but in the original, they pay it off differently. Like when McAvoy actually says that he's a doctor after like the joke, like, all right, I'll fix you up. Although I don't know if he actually says it, but they don't outright say one thing or another. It's just kind of ambiguous.
Every part of it, they took the teeth out of it. Where
right,
man, in that original one, that sticks with me. The whole doctor thing.
Right, the original, he's like, I'm a little weird, and it's like, wait, what? I would have left right there. But yeah.
But again, it's that politeness thing where it's like you don't want to offend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I think McAvoy does an awesome, powerful performance, but it is just not. Patty is not Patrick, and Patrick for me works on so many different levels, and it's just so much creepier. Where if I saw McAvoy, it's like, oh, this dude is being aggressive and like really violent. Like even the screaming scene. So a lot of the scenes are very similar. Like he basically is showing him, hey, you can scream and nobody's going to come around. But I buy it way more with Bjorn and Patrick as he's actually trying to awaken this thing that's missing in Bjorn. And that was the same thing with him calling him a hero when he finds the doll, the stuffed animal in the beginning. He's telling exactly what Bjorn needs to know, and he's awakening this part in him where I'm not necessarily getting that from Patty. Like I think he was kind of confrontational from the beginning. Same thing at the dinner and when he has the bike and just kind of takes the kid, but that's not building up the character of what's his name, Ben Dalton. It's not building up Scoot McNairy. Instead, it's just kind of, I don't know. To me, it kind of rubs me a little bit wrong. I love his performance, but it's just such a different take on the character. It doesn't seem to have the same. There's just no way I would be following him. I would have gotten out of there so much sooner, and that to me like makes it fall a little bit more on its face. Where I kind of see with this Patrick in the original one, I think I can see why he kept going along with it. And then they also kind of changed the relationship between the husband and the wife. Scoot McNairy in the second one, they're kind of going on this vacation to fix their relationship in a weird way. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be working for me. It feels like they're taking away a lot of the elements that really made it stand out, and then they're putting in these kind of generic ones to me.
Well, and the dramatic beats in the American version feel like soap opera shit. Like, ooh, romance. Ooh, they're having a hard time.
And
Okay.
just it doesn't have that same uniqueness. Just man, I didn't think it was gonna go where it went in the original, and just man, I think it pays it off in such an interesting way that like really sticks with me. Where, as you mentioned with the new one, it's like, yeah, I don't think I'll ever revisit that. I can't see ever recommending that to somebody, but I can see quite a few occasions where it's like, you know, do you have a dark and disturbing one? It's like, I do. I got one for you where I might recommend the original, but I can't think of a circumstance where I'd ever recommend the remake. I guess if you want to see a really beefy James McAvoy.
Eye candy jumping in the lake.
The difference is like both stories set up how people inherit and deal with trauma, and the American version kind of takes an easy way out of things, where like right down to the doll that the kid needs to feel safe or whatever. Like that's a big thing in both movies. But when you know what happens in both movies, trauma just does not matter in the original. Whereas in this one, it's just like, it's okay. This is a movie and things are supposed to get better because it's a movie. And like, I felt like there's something there for just even PTSD that they kind of take a bitch way out. And it's sort of frustrating.
And the toy really bothered me in that movie because I felt like that toy was mainly used to give a reason to stay.
Like, if it bugs you in that one, it's really going to bug you in the original. But can I ask you, so you haven't seen the original. Nope. What do you think the reason for calling it Speak No Evil is?
Well, I will cheat a bit because I did watch your stream, guys. So it's about politeness as well in the other one, if I remember correctly. But I guess they don't want to insult or something.
Yes. There's another reason in the original one, and I think.
Oh,
cut it out, dark. Charles. Just cut it out.
That's dark. Okay.
So I don't know. It kind of feels like they're taking away, like, essentially the titular scene, if you will. Why you're not going to speak the evil, or what happens when you don't speak the evil. Where you don't really get that in this remake, sadly.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah. Well, maybe. No. Well, we see in the trailer, we see the troubling scene with the kid cutting stuff, but you don't really realize until you see the movie what's up with that.
The problem with what they do in the American version is it's really neat what they do with the kid and his tongue. But once you like settle in with the fact that of what happens in the third act, all you can do is second guess everything that happens. Like, what type of arrogance do you have as a host couple in just making or just knowing that that other person with you will not do everything to tell the truth one way or another?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know if you've done spoilers or not.
Well, about Speak No Evil, the newest one, go all in for spoiler if you want.
So the boy not having his tongue.
Yeah.
I haven't rewatched it yet. There's the moment where they're like dancing, and I can't tell if what he was doing was trying to show them how to get into the garage or whatever, because the motions that he was doing was similar to something that it needed to take out the door or open the door, like
take out the carpet to reveal the trap or the
because he was doing like this weird thing.
Yeah.
If he's trying to get their attention to help him, it doesn't make sense. There's two elements that doesn't make sense. Why would the parents like trust him alone with the girl and I don't know, why wouldn't he try harder? There's the more I think about the boy, I like the fact that his backstory for his tongue, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, no. If he's trying to get help, he would have done something a bit more than that.
Yeah. Well, maybe he didn't know what to do. That's a kid. That's the only pass I would give to this. It's a
But he
kid.
knows to play ball like around the garage door and just keep screwing up so that he can get the keys fast enough.
Again, he's
Yeah.
traumatized.
Yeah, yeah.
Kids do weird stuff. Kids are kids.
It's not like a straight no from me, but it's a you could have done better. You really could
Yeah.
have done better.
I think so, and I think they did. I think the original. I
Oh,
don't get those
yeah.
same vibes from that kid, and then it feels like there's even more instances where just this whole politeness thing keeps coming up in that original one, where you would have the opportunity to essentially like warn others what's coming, but you can't speak of the evil, like you're just not going to, so they're not as aware as they could be. Just man, I feel like they dropped the ball a lot in this one and really watered it down. And sadly, I think everywhere that the title works and why it seems just so perfect to me, they really did in a worse way, at least for me subjectively.
Yeah.
So, I'd recommend 2022, not
I would.
2024.
I would too. Either one of these movies, you're not going to have a good time. So if you want a better experience, you're going to feel shitty regardless. The original hits harder. And again, it's like, oh, I want to watch something that really challenges me and is artistic, but I don't want to feel crummy. Don't watch either of these. But like, if you really want to watch something powerful, why are you even thinking about the American one? Because it's just so neutered and numbed down. It's
Interesting.
frustrating. Piss off, Cody.
Do you guys want to add anything else on the matter before we give away scores for the newest one?
Good performances.
What
Yeah.
would be your grade out of 10, Charles?
I am looking 6 out of 10.
That's interesting. We're dangerously close. Mine is 6.5. What about you, Gray?
Yeah, I think I'd be somewhere in that range of 6 to 6.5. I think I'm probably 6. Just compared to the original, it could have been so much better.
Again, Gray, make a letterbox.
Oh, please do, Gray. What the hell? Problem is, Multi, they're 5 stars on Letterboxd.
The next and final review, Never Let Go. That movie here. I quite enjoyed it. That was a great movie. And I feel like this September had 3 great horror flick. Well, not 3 great, more like 2.5. Anyway, that's beside the point. Never Let Go was a really good movie. I enjoyed it. Elle Berry was perfect in the role, and the kids were kind of good for kids. Now, I only had one issue with this movie. The only issue would be with the ending ruined the end of the world aspect, and the kid being saved was bad. So it's like two things at the very end of the movie, but I feel like for the rest of the movie, I was entertained, I was hooked, I liked it, and I won't lie here. I was like that in a lot of scenes where I kind of expect a jump scare because I don't want to die from an heart attack in the theater, and I feel like that's the kind of stuff that could happen to me. That's how unlucky I am. Anyway, Never Let Go, highly recommend. And I feel goddamn stupid because I've seen other people in our circle talk about that movie and they are so much smarter than me. And after watching their discussion about it, I enjoyed that movie even more. Um, I'm not the biggest horror fan. I will make that clear. I I think my favorite genre is probably thrillers. Thrillers. I like thrillers a lot. Um, Action flicks are very fun. Sci-fi is fun. Horror is like almost the worst thing for me. Like the only worst thing would be romance, but it's hilarious because I did like Fly Me to the Moon. I did like The Fall Guy. So I guess it depends on which romance we get.
So we are back with Never Let Go. Dre, you're the first one to
Yeah.
go on that one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I saw the trailer for this one and thought that could be really interesting. I really hope they're gonna do something different than what I imagine. But there was kind of one film that came to mind when I was watching the trailer that's like, oh, I hope they aren't going in this direction. And it kind of seems like they did go that direction. There's some interesting things that they did. There's some really beautiful shots. I love the Pacific Northwest. This really feels like it is some wooded area, the woods of the Pacific Northwest. I heard it was shot in Canada, so I'm not sure if it was Northwest Canada or where exactly it ended up being, but oh, it is gorgeous. And there's some amazing shots of nature in this. But it does a couple things that I wish it would do a little bit better. I guess let me keep talking about the positives. I like seeing Halle Berry in an actual like kind of dramatic role, and this is a lot of meat for her to kind of dig into. There's some layers to this character. It is kind of fun the way that she's playing it, in that you are definitely questioning whether or not she is sane. And man, I think she pulls off that performance really well for me. I think a lot of the music choices, like Big Rock Candy Mountain, they're just perfect for this. I thought forever I would just think of like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou when I hear that song. But man, this is kind of rewriting some of those memories. I think this works in a couple of different ways. And then in a bunch of different ways for me, it really doesn't work. I think the kid actors as well. I think it's, I'm blanking on their names. Anthony B. Jenkins and Percy Daggs the fourth. They're awesome kid actors. Usually kid actors really take me out of it. These kids did not. I was fully buying it. I kind of like the whole dichotomy of the two characters, the one believer, one not believer. That kind of worked for me. I kind of like the switching of roles throughout. There was some kind of fun tension with, especially the whole dog scene. I could definitely see why this would turn off quite a few because, who wants to see an animal get injured or whatever? Obviously, the way that it plays out, it's just for tension. But man, that definitely made me tense. And then when the actual, I guess, hiker guy shows up as well, I thought they did tension pretty well. But there's a lot of this that I don't like so much. I feel like I've seen so many elements of this. It feels like it is like a Twilight Zone or like Outer Limits. Essentially, it could even be like a Black Mirror episode or whatever. It doesn't feel like it's necessarily a feature length horror. I understand what they're trying to do, the whole like good evil thing. There's a bunch of different allusions to the Bible. Serpent skin is found in a bunch of different places, and then ultimately we have a huge encounter with the serpent. There is the whole thing of knowledge. There is this whole search for food and everything. I don't know. To me, I feel like I've seen it done a lot better and less clunky than this ended up for me. And just, I can't help but notice, again, the comparison to one particular movie. And I was really hoping they weren't going that way. It is one of my least favorite M. Night Shyamalan ones. And it really feels like they took a page out of his book for this one. I don't like, I was hoping, okay, so there's not going to be a twist. It really is everything that they just set up. But the way that they kind of bring it back, it feels like they are doing the M. Night twist or attempting to. And just, man, there's so many things that could have paid off well. I don't hate the introduction of like the Chekhov's Polaroid camera or whatever. Like, okay, this shows the world as it is. And then they're kind of leaning into this ambiguity of, is this actually like insanity, or is this actually happening? Is there actually an evil out there? And I think they ride the line pretty well, except at the end when they've set up this camera, like it is supposed to show you what's actually there. And it's still somewhat ambiguous. Like, so spoilers, there is a hand on the kid's shoulder. So does that mean he's touched by evil? Does that mean that evil was actually there? But the thing is, nobody actually found this picture. It's just the camera kind of panning to this Polaroid. So is this actually the kid's like perception of it? Like, it's very unclear in a very unsatisfactory way. I feel like they were trying to have their cake and eat it too. Like, hey, this will be this fun amount of ambiguous, but if we just put the hand there, then yes, it says that you can read it however you want to. And just to me, it's very ineffective. I feel like I've seen every aspect of this done better, and it fell flat to me. I don't see who I would recommend this to, or if I'd ever want to see this again. That being said, there's some really fun stuff in here. Like, the sets are great. I think the acting is pretty good. The pacing to me, I feel like I was looking at my watch quite a few times during this. I just wanted it to pick up. Once some action actually happens, like the dog scene was tense. The hiker was tense. But it felt like it took kind of forever to get there, where I feel like we could have had like a montage of eating bark or something that would have gone a little bit further than some of the scenes that we got. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Charles, I feel like I've gone on way too much. Did you have any feelings on Never Let Go?
That again, just more of the same. The only reason I finished that movie is because I had to, because I have content that's developing out of this. It's very boring. It's very boring. I don't know who I would suggest this to as well. I would say maybe if you haven't seen any of the M. Night stuff that is very parallel, maybe give this a shot first. But if you've seen those movies, and I haven't even seen the one his daughter directed, it feels very familiar. Like, and you're like, oh, I really hope this doesn't happen. And it may not be exactly the same, but it's in the same neighborhood, and that's really kind of a bummer.
Okay. I also heard some very interesting thing you said on your stream. Could you elaborate more on the religious aspect to the movie?
You talking to me?
Yeah. Or was it you? I forgot if it was you or...
I mean, it might have been me.
Maybe it was Dre.
There's a lot of elements of kind of faith that it brings up. So first off, there is the like whether or not the mother is telling the truth or not, whether or not this evil exists. But there is, she is good. There is evil out there. The house is good. So there is this good evil thing at play. There's serpent after serpent that kind of comes up in this thing. There is this whole, believer, non-believer. There are the whole two sons thing, which, that kind of factors in heavily to a lot of that. But then there's the believer, non-believer thing as well. There is there's like so many ways that this could be that, but I've heard a bunch of different interpretations as well that, people comparing it to like COVID, for instance. It kind of fits with anything that you're taking on faith, and kind of how hard you would actually, how far you'd go with that faith, or if you actually require proof of your own, and if that would get you essentially like cast out for looking for that proof yourself. I think this could work on a bunch of different levels. Just the way that it kind of ends it, I think they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. It doesn't come to a definitive stance, so it just feels like they're messing with these elements that can definitely be seen as religious, but I don't know that it has some major message at the end.
Okay.
I don't know if I used faith, but I said that it's something of an allegory for echo chambers.
Oh yeah.
Like
Maybe that's what I mixed up because
if
my brain is fried.
if you're only hearing one side of a story and you never hear anything else, how are you to second guess any of those things that are being brought to you? It's kind of, I don't know if it outright says it, but you should challenge everything that is being told to you, even if it's for the best intentions. It taking somebody at their word is good, but it, one side of a story isn't very good at all. And this movie kind of touches on why. I mean, you're second guessing a couple of things throughout the movie, but it could be done better.
Yeah. Now the ending. With the world not really ended or whatever, because in the movie, the mother, even if she is not a reliable narrator, said the world ended. But apparently not. I've seen people saying, "Oh, it's the end of the world," until it's not. What did you think of that? The entire ending with the chopper and going back to civilization and that kind of stuff.
It doesn't hit nearly as hard. Like I think the primo example, it's got to be like what, Mist?
I think so. I think that's the most hard hitting one.
Yeah. And even the village, it kind of is a bit more hard hitting. It again, if you've never seen a movie like this before, I'm curious to know what you think. But knowing that there's other movies out there like this, it doesn't. Not only is it not original, but it's also kind of falls short of what's already been done.
Yeah.
Well, I think with The Mist, it's also got those religious allegories
Yeah.
and definite symbolism in there, but I think it works far more effective. And I think it comes to a definitive answer for me, where this one, I feel like they're just trying to kind of play both sides with that little hint of the touch where it's like, okay, does that mean he's touched by evil? Or there's a bunch of different interpretations of it, but I don't know that it's necessarily a confirmation that, yes, this evil is correct and Halle Berry was correct for isolating them because this evil is coming after them and now they've unleashed it on the world. I'm not sure about that. Like, it still is somewhat ambiguous. Like, are we just seeing it from the kid's point of view, or is any of this actually happening? And I didn't get that from a lot more of these movies that, again, have this kind of twist at the end, but have this impact and are dealing with same subject matter. The Mist really does come to mind. And so much more effective there for me.
Okay. I'm wondering if any of you would like to add more.
No.
Okay.
I'll let go.
What would be your grade out of 10, Charles?
4.
Oh my. Okay. What about you, Gray?
I think a 5. I think 2.5 sounds about right to me. So
like
let's go
them
5 out of
trees.
10.
Well, I'm glad I
There
had
were some pretty shots.
I'm glad that I had a far better experience than the both of you.
I mean, you are a fan of Big Rock Candy Mountain, so I assumed that you would enjoy it more. But that was a pretty good version of it. I enjoyed it.
I think Halle Berry should produce more because she willed this movie.
Yeah.
She did a lot better in this one than The Union, in my opinion. So, hell yeah, more Halle Berry and more range for her. She does good.
I like this movement of, actresses putting their money where their mouth is and producing and starring in things and really kind of taking ownership. I don't know what the proper way to describe it is, but between Halle Berry this year and Sydney Sweeney earlier, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I take Immaculate over this one. But,
I agree.
I cannot wait to see that one. That's on my watch list.
But they're both not some sort of franchise thing. Awesome. And the actresses are like, you know what? I'll make this. I don't give a crap. And studios are like, but there's no capes. And it's not a sequel.
I talk. Let's go through the few things I had marked down in my notes. The mother was shown to be unreliable narrator in many instances, and That goes back to the ending when you realize maybe the world didn't really end. Maybe, just maybe. The son become a villain, the other becomes someone that overcame darkness. The good music, story was entertaining. For child actor, they were competent. Sadly, I have seen that movie like when it came out, and as I am recording this, we are almost in the middle of October, so it's been like a good 3 weeks and a half, almost four. And since then, I've seen like 20 movies, around 20 movies. Anyway, Never Let Go, highly recommend. Good horror flick with religion if you hear others, with how you raise kid wrong. Yeah, yeah. For me, this movie is a solid 9.7. So yeah, these are my thoughts. If you ask me, Never Let Go or The Front Room, I'll be honest, I can't remember which one I like more, like almost a month later. I'm looking at my letterbox right now, and looks like The Front Room is above Never Let Go. So I'd say The Front Room out of these three is the best movie. So if you only look to watch only one horror flick, The Front Room. That's it. We are out for today. Do all of the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, and subscribe.